They say time heals all wounds, but for Nathaniel Hawthorne, time had only sharpened the edges of what he'd lost. 6 years had passed since she vanished. No goodbye, no explanation. Just an empty space where her laughter used to echo. In the years that followed, he built walls of steel and glass, rising higher with every success, yet no amount of wealth could fill the hollow ache she left behind. But fate has a way of rewriting even the most carefully guarded stories. It began with a fleeting glimpse. 2 little girls with silver lockets catching the light like whispers of a secret long buried. Their laughter stirred something he thought long dead, and when he heard the name their mother had given them, his world tilted on its axis. Claire, the woman he'd loved. The woman who disappeared. Now, standing at the crossroads of the past and future, Nathaniel is about to uncover a truth that will challenge everything he thought he knew. But some secrets are locked away for a reason, and unlocking them may come at a price neither of them is ready to pay. 2 hearts separated by time. 2 little girls holding the key to a future that was never meant to be lost. But the question remains, will love be enough to bridge the distance of 6 years? Or will the truth shatter what's left of their hearts? If you're ready to unravel a tale of love, loss, and second chances, where every chapter brings unexpected twists and heart-stirring moments, then don't miss what happens next. Subscribe to the channel and follow Nathaniel's journey as he discovers that sometimes the greatest riches aren't found in fortune or fame, but in the hearts we choose to hold close. Stay until the end. You won't want to miss the final twist that will leave you thinking long after the last page is turned. Nathaniel Hawthorne stood at the floor-to-ceiling window of his high-rise office, the city skyline sprawling beneath him like a kingdom at his feet. The faint hum of traffic echoed through the glass, a distant reminder of a world that moved relentlessly forward. His reflection, tailored suit, sharp jawline, eyes carved from steel, stared back at him. Yet beneath the immaculate facade lay a heart hollowed out by time and regret. Mr. Hawthorne. He turned at the sound of his assistant's voice. Rachel stood at the doorway, iPad in hand, her gaze cautiously measuring his mood. The car is ready for the gala. It's time to leave. Nathaniel nodded and adjusted the cufflinks on his sleeves. Gold, understated, a gift from a woman whose absence clung to him like a shadow. Without another word, he strode past Rachel, his footsteps echoing against marble floors as he made his way to the elevator. The Hawthorne Foundation annual gala unfolded beneath the gilded chandeliers of the Belmont Grand, where laughter and clinking glasses filled the air. Guests swirled through the ballroom. Philanthropists, politicians, and socialites draped in silk and diamonds, exchanging smiles as carefully curated as their wardrobes. Nathaniel moved through the crowd with practiced ease, offering nods and handshakes as expected. Yet their conversations, stocks, mergers, philanthropic endeavors, brushed past him without leaving a mark. Good evening, Mr. Hawthorne. Wonderful event. As always, Nathaniel. Praises flowed his way, but none pierced the veil of detachment he wore. For years, success had been both his armor and his prison. Every triumph, every million earned, was a brick in the wall he'd built to keep out what he couldn't forget. The warmth of her laughter, the touch of her hand in his, the night she vanished without a word. Nathaniel, a voice called from behind him. He turned to see Margaret Hawthorne, his grandmother, approaching with her cane tapping softly against the floor. Despite her silver hair and the lines etched by time, her eyes remained as sharp as ever. "You look like a man who's lost in a crowd of ghosts," she said, tilting her head to study him. "I'm simply fulfilling my obligations," he replied, offering a faint smile that didn't reach his eyes. Margaret's gaze softened. "Obligations don't fill an empty heart, Nathaniel. Perhaps it's time you stop chasing numbers and start chasing what matters." Before he could respond, a ripple of laughter from across the room caught his attention. His gaze shifted instinctively and then froze. Two little girls, no older than 6, darted between guests with the uninhibited joy of children untouched by the weight of the world. Their laughter echoed above the hum of polite conversation as they weaved through tables, their dresses, one lavender, one pale yellow, fluttering like butterfly wings. Nathaniel might have looked away. Children held no place in his world. But then he saw it, a glint of silver at their necks. Matching heart-shaped lockets swinging with each step, his chest constricted, the air in the room thinning as though the walls had drawn too close. The sight struck him with a force that shattered the careful numbness he'd cultivated over the years. It couldn't be. And yet, the lockets were unmistakable, identical to the one he had given Claire 6 years ago, a symbol of the future they had once dreamed of building together. "Nathaniel?" Margaret's voice pierced the haze of his thoughts. Without replying, he moved through the crowd, his pulse thrumming in his ears as he followed the girls. They giggled as they ducked behind a marble pillar, oblivious to the man whose world had tilted off its axis. "Excuse me," he murmured as he maneuvered past guests, his gaze locked on the spot where the girls had disappeared. Turning the corner, he found them crouched beside a large floral arrangement, their fingers tangled in the satin ribbons that adorned its base. "Hello," he said, his voice softer than he intended. Two pairs of eyes, one pair hazel, the other a striking shade of sapphire, looked up at him. The blonde girl with hazel eyes tilted her head curiously, while her dark-haired sister clutched the silver locket at her chest. "Are you lost?" Nathaniel asked, though the question felt absurd. It was he who felt untethered, adrift in a moment, that defied reason. "We're not supposed to talk to strangers," the dark-haired girl replied, her gaze wary despite the curiosity in her eyes. "Lily," the blonde one whispered, tugging at her sister's hand. "Maybe he's nice." "I am," Nathaniel assured them, though his own heart pounded with questions he couldn't voice. I noticed your necklaces. They're beautiful. Where did you get them?" "Mommy gave them to us," Lily replied cautiously. Nathaniel's breath caught in his throat. "Your mother? What's her name?" "Claire," said the blonde girl, her voice as light as a feather and as heavy as a stone dropped into a still pond. Nathaniel staggered back half a step, the name slicing through the last remnants of his composure. Before he could gather his thoughts, a woman appeared at the end of the corridor. "There you are, girls," she called, hurrying toward them. Nathaniel's gaze snapped to her, only to feel the air rush from his lungs. It wasn't Claire. The woman, though kind-eyed and smiling, was a stranger. "Come now, you shouldn't wander off," she chided gently, before looking at Nathaniel with an apologetic smile. "I hope they weren't bothering you." "Not at all," Nathaniel replied, his voice steady despite the storm inside him. As the woman led the girls away, Nathaniel's gaze lingered on the silver glint of their lockets until they vanished into the crowd. Margaret found him moments later, her hand resting lightly on his arm. "Nathaniel, what is it?" she asked. He swallowed hard, his pulse still hammering in his veins. "They had Claire's locket, Grandma, the same one I gave her." Margaret's brow furrowed. "Are you sure?" "I'm certain. And one of them." She said her mother's name is Claire. Margaret's eyes widened, but before she could speak, Nathaniel stepped back, the steel resolve that had built his empire now coalescing into a single thought. "Claire is alive, and I need to find her." Nathaniel's penthouse loomed above the city like a fortress carved from glass and steel. The distant hum of traffic filtered faintly through the windows, but inside, the air hung heavy with a silence that clung to the edges of every breath. The whiskey in his glass barely touched his lips before he set it down, untasted. His reflection in the window broad shoulders tense beneath his shirt, jaw clenched, stared back with a gaze carved from shadows and questions. Claire.